Okay, today we're going to repair the body mount or lens flange, if you will, on a Nikon DX18-55 35-56G. Good news is, almost regardless of which version of this lens, these are all pretty close. So if you learn one, you'll learn them all. This one's really pretty simple. A couple things to be careful with. These 3 screws have to come out to let it come off, but before we do that, there's a couple of other things we want to get rid of. We want to free up the contacts to the body, and we also want to free up this shroud. We'll start with the shroud. There's a couple little screws, and they're just regular Phillips screws. All you need is a small Phillips screwdriver to do this. Anything in one of those little dollar store screwdriver kits will probably do the trick. 3 of those, and I have mine magnetized, so it usually pulls those out of there for me, but you may want to keep a tweezers handy to give them a little tug. Sometimes they don't want to come out. Those 3 are the same. Then that guy just pops right off of there. Keep things neat and organized so you can always find what you're looking for. 2 screws hold this set of contacts in. And again, they're Phillips screws as well. Just pop those out now. Time to start paying attention a little bit at least. This stays in there. It's loose, but we're not taking it out. We're just moving it out of the way. It's connected by a flex cable. Don't rip it. It costs money. Alright. Now if you notice, now we can basically see the ring. So there are some things we don't want to lose here. We don't want to lose these guys, because that works. You can see looking through the lens, that works the lens aperture. We don't want to lose those. We're going to have to connect those to this. So we're going to start by just taking these screws out. And these again are Phillips screws. Now, if you were so inclined, you could disconnect some of this stuff, but it's much easier when we just wiggle this out of here. Now again, don't get too aggressive. See, there's something over here. We don't want to tear that solder joint if we can help it. Not a big deal to resolder it, but why make yourself more work? So I'm going to do that next. And pop this, again, another Phillips screw. This repair can be almost exclusively done with a 1 screwdriver, 1 Phillips screwdriver. Now, don't lose those contacts. There's a little pin that sticks through there. So you line that up in the hole. You can start the screw. And then as you start to snug that down some, just want to make sure that you line up this hole over the pin, the little plastic pin. Again, try not to slip. Usually if you slip, you just take you just pull the cord, the little cord off of there, but again, why make yourself more work if you can avoid it? I'm going to get a slightly bigger screwdriver here because it's a little easier to turn this. Close it in, and just make sure there's a little, that hole goes over the little pin on there, so when you snug it down, you don't want to bend it or crack it or anything like that. And you see, keep pushing that back in place. 1 or 2 more. Now, trying not to move all these guys. These guys are just spacers they put in here. Basically, so they can make sure the lens focuses at the proper distance without having to be super accurate about where it's positioned. So they can put these in here, and there's a couple little locating pins that just hold those on there. The screws go through the other openings, but we don't need to worry about that yet. Okay, next. Now, we want to take, being careful not to lose stuff here, if we turn this a little farther, if you're looking at it from this side, we want to go clockwise and we can let it come loose. We want to pop this spring. Sometimes people will pop that spring before you take it off of there. Okay, now our old one is basically what we started with. That's junk. Let's put that one aside. We're gonna put this guy in here, and you gotta line it up roughly the same way, and then you have to, there's a couple of little shapes you line up in there, and it'll sort of fall in position. When you get those shapes in the right spot, it's a lot easier. And then you turn it a little bit, and then it won't come out. Then it'll stay in. And then at that point, well, hopefully maybe keep a finger on it to keep it in there. But then you can reconnect this spring, and it just hooks over that little pin right there. Okay. Now, this guy slides down in there, and it has to actuate this lever. See that? So we're going to make sure that goes underneath that side. So we put this on. Basically, maybe we might have to move this just a little bit. We don't want to get it tangled up anywhere. And that should just fall into the right position. You might have to wiggle it just a little bit. And just so we're kind of started here, let's get a screw in this so we don't lose anything. Now at this point, you could reconnect these other things, but just for security, if I wasn't confident in my repair, I might only put one of these in there. But I know I can, I know I've got it. I've done a few of these, so. But you might put one in, reconnect this stuff, and test it before you put it on a body. You may not want to do that. It only takes a couple seconds to get these out of there anyway. Pop, tighten those guys down a touch. Now again, carefully pull this guy back into position. Don't force anything. And there's the two little holes that we line up from the side. Get our two little screws. Okay. And just keep a little bit of pressure on the back side so you can get them in there right. Screw those in there. And you should stop at some point. Oops. Okay. And as again, that guy should line up over that guy. You don't want to move this part too far before you put this on, because if you move it too far, it'll slip out of the track we put it in on the other side. So once this is in place, it keeps it from going too far. And then we're alright. And then that should sort of seat down. Put these last 3 screws in. Again, all Phillips screws. Maybe you need a tweezers as well. But This whole repair should really just take a few minutes. After you do it a couple of dozen times, you'll get much faster. If you're a first-time user, check your aperture, make sure that works properly. Now's a good time to clean my fingerprints off the glass. We can put it on a body and test it, but I know it's good. Thanks for watching. We hope to have more videos up soon. Keep checking us out. Thank you.